Hello, River family. We're so glad that you're here. If you're not able to be here, you're in another city, another state, whatever, we still consider you part of our River family. And if you have prayer needs, please let us know. office@theriverabilene.com. Send us an email. We will give that to our prayer warriors and we'll be in prayer for you. We're really glad that you're here. Let me tell you about a couple of things going on in the life of the congregation. First of all, our next Team River class, that's a class where you can explore the history, the priorities, the vision, the faith statements of the river and have FaceTime with my wife and I. The next one of those classes is going to be April the 12th after the 10:30 service in room A103. Our groups, now we've just come off of spring break if you're watching this in real time. Our groups have resumed. They're all in operation now. You can join a group at any time. Go to our groups page at theriverabilene.com. You can absolutely find a group for you, and there's more groups continuing to emerge. Now, Easter's coming. It's coming very, very quickly, it seems like. April the 3rd is our Good Friday service. It'll begin at 6:30, and our kids will have a kids program called The Five Senses of Easter. It's a really powerful time. Would love for you to bring your kids and then come in to the sanctuary and encounter Good Friday with us. Also, coming up, ladies, is the Ladies Overflow Retreat for 2026. It'll be from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. on April the 18th. The last day to register will be April the 12th. Please check that out. We'd love for you to be a part of this. Great speaker coming. It's going to be an amazing, amazing day of worship and growth, so we encourage you to be a part of that. And as always, you have to know whether you're able to be here in person or not, you can be a part of what God's doing here, and that's through giving. There's 3 different ways to give. You can mail a check to 539 U.S. Highway 83, Abilene, Texas 79602. You can give by secure text, or you can give by going to the website, theriverabilene.com. Go to the drop down. You can securely give there. We'd love for you to be a part of the puzzle of the move of God at the River Life Church in Abilene. We'd love for you to be able to do that. Here's a question for you. What current percentage of Americans do want to have a memorial or a funeral service for them after they pass? What percentage do want that? We'll see you in a sec.
Creation is not silent. It speaks, it shouts, it testifies. From the first, let there be, to the last breath of every storm and sea, the world itself has never stopped proclaiming the majesty of God. The heavens don't whisper, they roar. Stars burn sermons into the night, and galaxies swirl in sacred choreography, declaring the glory of the Lord. Every sunrise is a testimony, every sunset a signature. The mountains lift their arms like choirs, and the oceans crash like cymbals of praise. The wind dances through the trees, and even the stones hum a hymn beneath our feet, because everything he made still remembers his voice. It was his word that sparked the light, his breath that filled the sky, his hand that shaped the dust and called it human. Creation bears his fingerprints, etched in the bark, woven in the tide, written in the rhythm of the tide and time. The psalmist said, "The heavens declare the glory of God," not suggest, not imply, declare. And they've been declaring ever since. Every thunderclap, his majesty. Every lightning strike, his might. Every still, quiet morning, his mercy new again. Even the vastness of space bends beneath his reign, for no distance can stretch beyond his name. And if creation is the witness, then we are the response. We, made in his image, are the echo of his glory. So when we lift our hands, we join a chorus that never ended. A song that began before the first dawn, still rising through time, still pointing to the one who said, "Let there be." And there was. And it was good. And it still is. Because all of creation still testifies, still magnifies, still glorifies the majesty of God.
Logan River family, thank you so much for joining us as we've been talking about are we the friend that God has called us to be? Great question. Reminds me of these two billionaire friends. They're sitting out on a coffee time together, just enjoying each other, just chatting. Finally, one of them turns to the other one and says, "Hey, tell me, how's home life?" He says, "Amazing. I bought an elephant and it's the best decision I've made ever." He said, "An elephant? Are you crazy?" He said, "Yeah, the elephant is amazing. It keeps the grass down. The kids love it. They can ride on it and they can slide down its trunk. When I'm out, it picks up heavy stuff for it. It has just made our family such an amazing place to be." He says, "Are you serious?" He said, "Yeah, it's been amazing." He said, "What'd you pay for the elephant?" I said, "I paid $1 million. He says, "You're kidding me." He said, "I'll give you $2 million for it." He said, "It's a part of our family. I can't let it go." He says, "Okay, $3 million. He said, I don't know, $4 million. You know, it's really special to us. $5 million. He said, "Okay, sold." Sells him the elephant. They're having coffee about a month later. He says, "I can't believe this. What in the world did you do to me? This elephant tears up the yard. He doesn't do anything good for the grass. He leaves behind large piles of stuff. He is aggressive. The kids are terrified of him. He has torn up everything around us, and he trumpets in the middle of the night, and I can't sleep." He said, "This is the worst purchase ever." The other guy says, "Well, with that attitude, you'll never sell that elephant." That's not a very good friend, is it? What kind of notion do you have regarding a friend? What kind of notion do you have regarding a friend? The highest form of friendship is friendship with God. If you have a Bible, go to James 2:23, and I want you to look at this verse. James 2:23, and it's when we get a picture of the father of our faith, so to speak, Abraham. And it says, and the scripture was fulfilled that says, Abraham believed in God, and it was credited to him as righteousness, and he was called God's friend. Philos, someone very fond of, someone who we have a bonded relationship with. To be a friend of God is the ultimate goal of all believers. That is to take a lot of the theological words, the seminary words away, to become so intimate with God that we are friends with God. That's the pinnacle of what we would be called to be. Today, we're going to look at a funeral, at a passing, and how Jesus is still a friend. By the way, 47% of Americans want a memorial or funeral service. It is now the majority of people in America do not want a service after they pass. Interesting, huh? Well, let's see what kind of a friend Jesus is at a memorial service. Lord, open our hearts, open our eyes, open our understanding. Challenge us, Lord, to be the kind of friend that we are called to be and understand the kind of friend that you are. In Jesus' name, amen. If you have a Bible, I want to encourage you to go to John chapter 11. John chapter 11. We'll start in verse 1. We're going to be reading through this entire account. So starting in verse 1, I'll be throwing down some facts and some understandings to hopefully paint the picture for you a little bit better. Starting in verse 1, now a man named Lazarus, by the way, that's a Hebrew name. It's a shortened for Eleazar. It's a shortened way of saying Eleazar. Lazarus was sick. He was from Bethany. There's a lot of different places identified as Bethany. This is one that's probably about 1.7 miles from Jerusalem, kind of in the Mount of Olives area is basically the way to look at that. He was in Bethany The village, only time that John uses village is for Bethlehem. The village of Mary. Mary is the Greek way of saying Miriam. And her sister Martha. Martha is an Aramaic name. This Mary, whose brother Lazarus now lay sick, was the same one who poured perfume out on Jesus and wiped his feet with her hair. So the sisters sent word and said, Lord, the one you love is sick. Interesting. This is the mixture of Palestine at this time. Lazarus, Hebrew name. Mary, a Greek name. Martha, an Aramaic name. Super common in this world right now as it's become a bit of a melting pot because of the Roman Empire, because of diasporas and people coming back. Now unpack this phrase. Lord, so when they sent somebody, that means that somebody left the village, sent this message. It wasn't an email, it wasn't a text. They had to send somebody to get to Jesus and say, the one whom you love. They didn't even use his name. The one whom you love, phileo, a fond, brotherly, bonded love. The one whom you love is sick. Now, they didn't tell him what to do, but that should be an indication. If you're a real friend, Jesus, you might spring into action. When he heard this, Jesus said, this illness will not end in death. No, it is for God's glory, doxa, so that God's Son may be glorified, that same doxa, through it. That's the here and now presence of God that is generally elicited by the elevation of God. It's glorifying God. It's the elevation of God while surrounded in the midst of his tangible presence. It's the manifestation of God's presence is the glory of God, and it always directs us upward. And it usually starts with the elevation of God. He's saying it's going to be for the glorification of him. Now, Jesus loved Martha, probably because she's the oldest, and her sister and Lazarus. Love. Now, here's the interesting thing about this word. This is agape. This is, and by the time of the writing of the Gospel of John, the church has fully taken the word agape, and they turned it to mean the supernatural, unexplainable, God-originated, heaven-agreeing love of God. So, Jesus loved Mary and Martha and her sister. So, when he heard that Lazarus was sick, he stayed there for 2 more days. And then he said to his disciples, let's go back to Judea. Okay, his divine love informed him to stay 2 more days. Does that not sound peculiar to you? His divine love. But Rabbi, they said, a short while ago, the Jews there tried to stone you. And yet you're going to go back? Jesus said, are there not 12 hours of daylight? Anyone who walks in the daytime will not stumble. And for they, by this world's light, are operating in this world's light. It is when a person walks at night that they are stumble and that they're unsteady and that they have no light. Now it's an idiom. It's a statement. It's a way of saying, I know what I'm doing. This encapsulates the entire phrase, and I know what I'm doing. I could probably preach a whole sermon on it, but just think Jesus is saying, I know what I'm doing. Also, he had told them this. He went on to say, our friend Philos, the one that we're bonded to, the one that we love, Lazarus, has fallen asleep, but I'm going there to wake him up. To wake him up. Now you have to understand, it is a common idiom that sleep and death can be the same thing. In the Old Testament, they say that when someone died, They slept with their fathers. But the disciples don't catch that. The disciples replied, Lord, if he sleeps, he'll get better. Jesus had been speaking of his death, but his disciples thought that he meant natural sleep. So he said to them plainly, Lazarus is dead, and for your sake I'm glad that I was not there, so that you may believe. But let us go to him. Then Thomas, also called Didymus or twin, said to the rest of the disciples, let us also go that we may die with him. Now, that is probably because he had a sense of solidarity about a potential revolution for this kingdom of God that was not going to come in the way he thought it was going to come. Once again, another sermon. On arrival, Jesus found Lazarus had already been in the tomb for 4 days. Now, it's interesting they're using the term 4 days. Now, 4 days, there's sort of rabbinical and Jewish teaching that the spirit over a dead body hovered for 3 days. And in day 4, whenever there's changes to the body, the spirit then chooses to leave. It was not biblical. It was not common teaching. It was sort of how the culture had adopted some things that were untrue. So him being in the tomb 4 days means he's dead. Okay, there's no sort of question about whether or not he's alive. Now, Bethany was less than 2 miles from Jerusalem, and many Jews had come to Martha and Mary to comfort them at the loss of their brother. When Martha heard that Jesus was coming, she went out to meet him, but Mary stayed at home. Literally, she stayed seated. Now, there's an indication because a lot of Jews came out from Jerusalem. They took the trip, they walked out there, meaning that Lazarus and his sisters were kind of well known, had maybe high repute. And when we get to the tomb, we'll see that maybe they had a little money because it appears that they had a decent tomb. Lord, Martha said to Jesus, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But I know that even now God will give you whatever you ask. What an interesting dichotomy of emotions. If you'd been here, if you'd been here, if you'd been here. Let me translate that. If you'd really been a good friend. We say it that way. If you really were a friend of Lazarus. Jesus replied, your brother will rise again. Martha goes back to what everybody knows. Answered, I know that he will rise again on the day of resurrection, at that last day. Jesus said to her, I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live even though they die. And whoever lives by believing in me will never die. Do you believe this? He's very, very curt. He's very, very strong in this statement. Do you believe this? Here's what I find fascinating. He's not just saying he's going to do something. He's saying he is something. He's revealing his intrinsic nature. Martha replies by thinking, yeah, this is common. We know that someday he'll on the day of resurrection, he's going to come back. But Jesus is saying, I'm the resurrection. That's a bold statement. Yes, Lord, she replied, I believe that you are the Messiah, the Son of God, who is to come into the world. After she said this, she went back and she called her sister Mary aside. The teacher is here, she said, and is asking for you. When Mary heard this, she got up quickly and went to him. Now Jesus, he hadn't entered the village yet, but was still at a place where Martha had met him. And when the Jews who had been with Mary in the house, comforting her, they noticed how quickly she got up and she went out, and they followed her, supposing she was going to the tomb to mourn there. When Mary reached the place where Jesus was and saw him, she fell at his feet and said, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. Here she goes again. If you'd been here, let's reinterpret it. If you really were a friend, if you're a good friend, if you really loved him, you would have been here. Now watch Jesus' reaction. No more teaching. When Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews who had come along with her also weeping, he was deeply moved. Ebimomai, it's like a snort of an animal that is hurt or angry. He was deeply moved, and his spirit was troubled. That is tarazo. It means deeply disturbed. He was deeply moved, and he was deeply troubled. And he said, "Where have you laid him?" he asked. "Come and see, Lord," they replied. And then it says that Jesus wept. It's bakiro. It literally means that he burst into tears. It was like so overwhelmed, no intentional, no pretend cry. He was bursting with emotion, and he wept. Then the Jews said, "See how he loved him?" But some of them said, "Could not the one who opened the eyes of the blind kept this man from dying?" Once again, I thought he was a friend. I thought he really loved him, but what kind of friend lets him die? Jesus, once more deeply moved, same word, like a snort, like an overwhelming sense with an animal, was deeply moved, came to the tomb. It was a cave with a stone laid across the entrance. Once again, kind of a picture that they were not poor. "Take away the stone," he said. "But Lord," said Martha, the sister of the dead man, "by this time he's been laid in there. He's been in there for 4 days. It's going to smell." Then Jesus said, did I not tell you that if you believed, you will see the glory of God, the manifest presence of God? So they took away the stone, and then Jesus looked up. He looked up and he said, now let me tell you the difference. In Roman understanding, exceptional people do exceptional things, or divine people do divine things. So Jesus looks up. He's rewriting a Roman script, and he's basically saying, I'm going to rely on the Father on this one. It's a really upside down cultural move for anyone who may be more Hellenized. They took away the stone. He looked up. He said, Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I knew that you always hear me, but I said this for the benefit of those standing around me, those who are here, that they may believe and that you had sent me. When he said this, Jesus called in a loud voice, Lazarus, come out. Now, in the cultic magic side of things, it would have been some sort of incantation that would have been over and over and over and over again until hopefully something happened. He just calls him forth. The dead man came out. His hands and feet were wrapped with strips of linen and cloth that was around his face. Jesus said, take off the grave clothes and let him go. So they would generally kind of batten the arms and the legs kind of together, just very gently with this cloth. And there would be a cloth sort of like a sweatband. As a matter of fact, they stole a Latin word that basically means sweatband to hold the mouth shut. Jesus proved that he was the resurrection and the life. Now I want to move this toward a sense of friendship. Friendship, a sense of the beloved, sense of a deep loving of Lazarus and his family was clearly connected to Jesus' heart. And so in the context of friendship, let me ask again, are you the friend that God has called you to be? And do you understand Jesus, God in the flesh, as friend? Let me give you 3 things that I want you to kind of consider. In verse 5 and 6, it said that he loved. He loved with agape love. He loved Mary. He loved Martha. He loved Lazarus with a profound love. Jesus, good friend, dying. He is suffering. There's a possibility of massive grief coming on. He adored this family. And so he stayed 2 more days. That doesn't sound like a friend. Lazarus, our friend. Friend of Jesus, the one he loved. The family he agape loved. So he stayed 2 days. That doesn't sound like a friend. Doesn't sound like a friend at all. If we're going to be really honest, this looks really unfair. It looks slightly mean. It looks as though Jesus is leaving them to suffer, to walk into darkness, for Lazarus to physically suffer, for these sisters to lose status and economic possibility because of the loss of their brother, because it appears that they are not married. To allow them to go through this while Jesus is waiting 2 more days knowing that he will die, it just feels like Jesus has abandoned them, that his timing is bad, that he's indifferent to their suffering. To move to the level of becoming a friend of God, we need to consider a couple of things. If we apply a romantic Hollywood version of friendship to our God, we will not understand God, Jesus, as friend. You see, you have a preset notion of what a friend does. When you're struggling, you get on the phone, they're there. When life falls apart, they're there. Whenever someone close to you dies, they're there. When you lose a family member, whenever you're struggling, they're there. They are instantaneously stop. They drop everything. They come. That's what a friend does. And when we apply that notion to Jesus, who is divinity, who's omnipotent, omniscient, who's an all-powerful, all-knowing God, when we apply that romantic notion of Hollywood friendship to him, we are destined to feel abandoned, to feel disappointed, to feel as though God does not see, hear, or understand us, that God does not like us as a friend. We're destined to that. It shows up in a lot of their statements. It shows up in tons of their statements. You know, I think of a friendship like this. I used to be a huge fan of the movie Red Dawn, not the one with Thor in it, the one with Patrick Swayze and Charlie Sheen in it. And I'm thinking of when Patrick Swayze and Charlie Sheen go to the town to engage the troops so that the others can go to free America. I'm like, that's a friend. That's a friend. The friend that will take the bullet for you. The friend that will step in front of the bus and push you away. That's a friend. But it's hard to conceive of a friend who will hold our hand while we take the bullet. That doesn't feel like true friendship. But it is. Friendship with the divine means that we are friends with the divine. Friendship with God means that we are friends with the way, the truth, the life. We are friends with the resurrection and the life. Secondly, I want you to think about this in 33 to 38. It says that he was troubled. It says that he was deeply moved. It says that he burst into tears, even though he knows what's coming. He feels it all. That's the kind of friend we have. He feels the sense of violation. He feels the sense of loss. He feels the suffering. He feels the why me. He feels the I don't understand. I'm confused. He feels the sense of deep, deep betrayal. He feels it all. And in the depth of that feeling, he could not contain himself. He burst into tears, even though he knew something great was coming. Even though he knew glory was about to enter that place. Well, why did he weep? He felt everything they felt. I think he probably even felt, I have to call Lazarus back from heaven. I think he grieved that too. You see, a real friend is one that feels exactly what we feel, that has that same sense of emotion. It truly relates to us, doesn't fix it, doesn't swoop in, but feels it. I had a friend one time, I'd gotten pretty sick in just doing ministry and running really hard, and this guy looked at me and he said, you took the responsibility for the church on your shoulders, didn't you? You didn't give it to Jesus. And in horror, I couldn't disagree with him. And he said, I know, because I can see the look in your eyes was the same look in my eyes, because I did the same thing. He felt deeply. He had deep distress. He burst into tears because while he saw the death, knew the suffering, knew the darkness of loss, he felt it all, even though he knew glory was coming. That's what it's like to be friends with God. Lastly, I want you to kind of just consider this. In verse 40, he didn't he say that I'm going to show you glory? Didn't I say to you, Mary, that I'm going to show you glory? Didn't I say that to you? You see, his friendship and our friendship with him will have moments of feeling abandoned, as though he's indifferent. It'll feel as though his timing is really, really bad. But he is the embodiment of life and resurrection. So he's the embodiment of it, even in the sense of death, even in the sense of loss, even in the sense of darkness. That is who he is. And so we have to know that. Because he knows the full picture, intimacy with him is the right move in relationship. You see, when we're deeply intimate with him, we know his nature so fully. We know his love so fully. We know his friendship so profoundly that we can walk through suffering and not feel abandoned or as though he's indifferent to what we're going through. Both Martha and Mary proclaimed a sense of belief in their sense of abandonment. That's about as human as it gets. They didn't disengage their relationship with Jesus. They did not run away. They didn't start blaming a church. They didn't start blaming Christians. They didn't start blaming Jesus. They didn't start blaming God. They didn't do any of those things. They questioned. But there was a level of intimacy that they had with Jesus that allowed them to walk through this time. Intimacy mitigates a sense of abandonment. Intimacy tempers time expectations. Intimacy provides a trust in the midst of suffering. That's how intimacy works. That's how friendship works. That's what holiness really is. You see, because he knows the full picture. His timing is right. Listen, for him. His timing is right for him. His indifference is non-existent because he knows how to feel what we feel. His timing is not wrong because his timing is in unison with heaven. He's the Messiah even in suffering. Even in death, he's a true friend. He's like the guy driving his family to Schlitterbahn. Well, it's 105 with no air conditioning. And they're suffering. But he knows the glory of the cold water and the slides. You see, friendship with Jesus is not based on earthly romantic notions of friendship. It is friendship with the Most High. Friendship with the Most High is based in his heaven-birthed, overwhelming love and affection, not an expectation of friendship that we would have on earth. Intimacy with Jesus, our friend, mitigates a sense of abandonment, a sense of indifference, a sense of lack of timing. So you have to understand, being friends with God, being friends with Jesus, is not this equal two-way street where you better do what I need when I need it, and I'll do what you need when you need it. It's not a two-way street. It is heavenward down. Even while Lazarus suffered to die, even while two sisters were about to have to give up any sense of financial stability and the love of their brother and the pain in their hearts, even in all of that, Jesus loved them with agape love. He felt what they felt, and his glory came for him, not them. They just got to be beneficiaries of the overflow. Are you the friend that God's called you to be? Do you understand Jesus Christ as friend? Lord, I pray that this would challenge our notions. This would challenge our upward to heavenward expectation. And that instead of being aspirational as to what Jesus should be as a friend, we would become inspirational that Jesus just is a friend. So Lord, relieve us of the difficult thoughts that we have sometimes, of the abandonment that we feel, the moments when we feel alone. May an intimate connection with you mitigate those feelings, because we believe in our true friend, the resurrection and the life. In Jesus, amen. Well, it's really hard not to attach, a Hollywood version of friendship to Jesus. But our call is to know what it means to have Jesus as friend, God in the flesh, co-creator of the universe. To have Jesus as friend and to be a friend with Jesus. Are you the friend that Jesus would call you to be? See you next week.